The lines that he takes from the back are never wrong. It is Roger-esque. These words from Andy Roddick have stirred up a storm of excitement and curiosity among tennis fans worldwide, as Roddick, a former United States Open champion, drew a daring parallel between the meteoric rise of Carlos Alcaraz and the timeless genius of Roger Federer. What exactly did he mean by that comparison, and how does it challenge the conventional wisdom that has so often grouped Alcaraz and Rafael Nadal together simply because they share Spanish heritage and clay court prowess? Today we are about to uncover every angle, every nuance, and every hidden motivation behind Roddick's statements. Prepare for a deep dive into tennis strategy, the allure of the grass courts, and the passionate mindset of one of the most exciting players on tour. We will peel back the layers of this Roger-esque label and explore how Carlos Alcaraz became not just a hardened clay specialist, but also one of the biggest contenders for Wimbledon glory. In this episode, we will investigate the essence of Alcaraz's adaptability, the role that mental fortitude plays in these lightning-fast surfaces, and the fresh wave of competition he faces from fellow rising stars. By the end, you will discover how the journey from clay to grass is transforming the sport's top echelon and challenging time-honored expectations. Where do we even begin with Carlos Alcaraz's story? This 22-year-old sensation has been enchanting fans around the world with his ruthless ground strokes, extraordinary movement, and the sheer bravado of his on-court presence. Not since the early days of Rafael Nadal have we seen anyone from Spain so ready to take on both clay and grass with equal zeal. But this time, the twist is that Alcaraz's transition to grass already looks smoother than many had predicted, and Andy Roddick is leading the chorus of voices who see more than a glimmer of Roger Federer in the way Alcaraz glides across the turf. Yet, how can we truly measure if this resemblance is real or hyperbole? Roddick's comment did not just touch upon results or raw statistics. He specifically highlighted Alcaraz's brilliant footwork and ability to read the court, explaining how he rarely takes a poor angle from the baseline. According to Roddick, these are not the hallmarks of Nadal's gritty and lung-busting approach when adapting to grass many years ago. Instead, they echo Federer's innate feel for geometry on a court, the Swiss maestro's near-perfect technique in knowing when to cut off an angle or when to extend the rally just a fraction longer. So, are we witnessing the dawn of a modern grass court phenomenon? To truly grasp the seriousness of such a comparison, we have to remember how transcendent Federer was in his prime at Wimbledon. The 8-time Wimbledon champion reinvented the way players approached the slick turf, turning what might have seemed like a specialized craft into a show of grace and artistry. This was not purely about big serves and net rushes. Federer could float effortlessly along the baseline, biding his time until a chance for a lethal forehand arose. If Roddick believes that Alcaraz has even a portion of that spatial intelligence and the same lethal sense of timing, then tennis might be on the cusp of an era where grass court brilliance becomes more fluid and less brute force. But the discussion is not purely about style. Alcaraz is making headlines through grit and determination as well. He has racked up multiple victories on different surfaces, frequently reminding us that he is no one-surface wonder. Most fans remember how certain clay specialists of older generations struggled on grass for years, requiring considerable effort to adjust. Even the great Rafael Nadal, after his clay court dominance in the mid-2000s, needed time to master the unpredictable bounces in London. He famously worked with his team to shorten his takebacks, to hit through his shots with more penetration, and to handle the lower bounce that Spanish clay rarely replicates. Alcaraz, though, seems to be evolving more spontaneously. Roddick uses this as strong evidence that Alcaraz exudes a Federer-like instinct for fast surfaces. In order to deem whether this is hype or a legitimate prophecy, let us examine Alcaraz's path from clay starlet to grass champion. Even before the grass season began, the Spaniard was soaring with confidence after capturing monumental titles on the red dirt. Those who watched him battle top opponents week after week realized that Alcaraz's brand of tennis is far from one-dimensional. He can volley smoothly, he can bring a fearsome kick serve, and he can adapt his swing patterns in unexpected ways. When he arrived at the HSBC Championships in London, some skeptics believed the quick transition from clay might trip him up. Instead, the opposite happened. He claimed the title, continuing a string of 19 consecutive victories. But perhaps the best testament to his adaptability is how seamlessly he seems to adjust his footwork. On grass, the margin for error can be razor thin. Misdirected foot placement puts many clay court players off balance, especially when trying to dig out low slices or half-volley pickups. Yet from Alcaraz's matches, you can see how he almost glides and then plants his feet, as though he has been playing on grass his entire career. A big part of that, as per Roddick's analysis, is the uncanny way he reads the ball's trajectory. While some find themselves out of position or caught late by the ball's surprising skid, Alcaraz appears to anticipate those off-bounces. That is what Roddick calls Roger-esque, the ability to sense where the ball will land and how it will bounce, often before it is even struck. And let us not forget that Alcaraz is not only about intuition, he is also about strategy and preparation. After his triumph at Queen's, where he fended off tough opponents like Jiri Lehecka, Alcaraz openly discussed how much work it takes to maintain this level of performance. He has sacrificed time, energy, and personal comfort since childhood to reach the upper echelons of the sport. Hard, grinding practice sessions, tireless mental training to cultivate unwavering self-belief. If he maintains that level of commitment, it could mean that grass court success will become a staple in his career, not just a temporary publicity catch. But what about the intangible mental side of this story? Many tennis fans recall Roger Federer's uncanny poise under pressure in Wimbledon finals, when tight matches threatened to unravel. Alcaraz, for all his youthful exuberance, has shown glimpses of a similar mental fortitude, commonly tightening his grip on matches just when an opponent starts to sense an opening. We saw it in key battles earlier this season. Time and again, he came up with the right shot at the right time. The pressure of playing for a title on grass does not seem to drain him. On the contrary, it ignites an electricity in his game that can feel unstoppable once he settles into a groove. Of course, comparisons with Federer might be flattering, but also carry potential pitfalls. High expectations can weigh on a young player's shoulders. If fans start presuming near-perfect footwork or artistry in every match, any slip in performance might lead to harsh criticism. However, hearing Roddick, who himself faced Federer in epic Wimbledon battles, speak so glowingly of Alcaraz's technique gives credence to these parallels. Roddick, after all, was on the receiving end of Federer's unstoppable brilliance more times than he probably cares to remember. If he sees a reflection of that brilliance in Alcaraz, then it is not just idle chatter. But do not forget the name Jannik Sinner. This young Italian star is not just a top rival on clay, but also an athlete with the game and belief to challenge Alcaraz on grass. Last year, they met in the round of 16 at Wimbledon, and it was Sinner who prevailed. Sinner's precise baseline game, combined with his own formidable returns, spelled trouble for Alcaraz. Yet fans wonder if the tables might be turning. Sinner had faced an early season sanction that kept him out of competition for a significant period, and now questions linger about whether he can regain his top form in time for a revenge match against Alcaraz in London. When you combine the presence of Sinner with established grass court names still lingering on the tour, it is clear that Alcaraz's route to regaining the Wimbledon title is anything but a foregone conclusion. The tennis world is excited, though, to see Alcaraz and Sinner potentially lock horns again, especially now that Alcaraz seems more comfortable on grass. Will Alcaraz's enhanced footwork and confidence overpower Sinner's pinpoint accuracy on the baseline? Will Sinner find ways to exploit possible weaknesses in Alcaraz's game, perhaps dragging him out to awkward positions, or testing his deep retrieval skills on the slick surface? The anticipation is intense. By now, if you are enjoying this in-depth exploration into how Andy Roddick's bold comparison has reignited passion in the tennis community, feel free to let us know by tapping that like button. We appreciate your support and hope this encourages us to bring even more insightful analysis. Let us continue. Moving beyond the rivalry with Sinner, the broader tennis universe is buzzing about the revolution that Alcaraz might spearhead. For years, a small handful of legends dominated Wimbledon: Federer, Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. But as these icons mature, fresh faces like Alcaraz have an open door. The world is hungry for new personalities, new rivalry stories, and unforgettable matches that echo the epic duels of the past decade. Alcaraz's push to refine a grass court style so early in his career is a sign that the next era in tennis is truly upon us. 20-year-old phenoms with Grand Slam titles under their belt are not so common. The fact that Alcaraz already has multiple major triumphs only stokes the fire. One can almost imagine tennis historians in future decades analyzing how Alcaraz learned from both Nadal and Federer, blending the best of their games into something innovative. When it comes to sheer explosive court coverage and monstrous topspin, he shares that genetic tennis code with Nadal. But for grass success, Alcaraz quickly discovered the necessity of that Federer-like subtlety. Short slice returns to disrupt the opponent's timing, fluid forehand approaches that accelerate the point, timely sneak moves to the net, and that intangible sense for letting the ball come onto the racket at precisely the right moment. Such intangible qualities, as Roddick would argue, are not easily taught. They suggest an inborn tennis IQ that you can only refine through practice. But being labeled the new Roger Federer in any context can be both a blessing and a curse. The media spotlight intensifies. Social media thrives on hype, speculation, and sometimes aggressive backlash. Young talents can be overwhelmed by that kind of scrutiny. Critics might point out that Federer, at a comparable age, had not yet captured a large number of Wimbledon titles. The question becomes, will such comparisons inadvertently accelerate expectations to the point that nothing short of a trophy will do? Alcaraz, in his typically humble manner, often reiterates that hard work is at the core of his success. He wants fans to understand that while raw talent is essential, it is the daily routine of sweat, repetition, and mental discipline that truly shapes a champion. That self-awareness echoes the stories we have heard from so many legends. Rafa, Roger, and Djokovic all hammered home the same idea. The difference between the top 5 and the rest seems smaller than it is, but the work ethic at the elite level is almost incomprehensible to people on the outside. If Alcaraz continues merging that unstoppable work ethic with a flair for adjusting swiftly to grass, we may be witnessing the birth of a grass court behemoth. It is fascinating how a single statement from Andy Roddick, "He is more like Federer than Nadal on grass," has sparked a whirlwind of speculation. Is it because the tennis community is perpetually searching for the next big rivalry or the next unstoppable champion? Is it because so many fans have a nostalgic yearning for the serve and volley days or the silky strokes that Federer showcased on center court for years? Either way, the conversation about Alcaraz's Roger-esque skill set sets the stage for high drama as Wimbledon looms on the horizon. Think, for example, of all the micro-battles that happen on grass, reading an opponent's serve, adjusting to unpredictable skids, mixing up spins and slices to keep them guessing. Federer practically built a career out of winning those micro-battles, especially in the late stages of major tournaments. If Alcaraz can win them too, we might see a new generation imprinting its style on tournaments that were once assumed to be the domain of the older champions. This evolution is part of what keeps tennis dynamic. Surfaces that used to advantage certain players may now tilt in favor of a younger contender who can solve the riddle faster than expected. Moreover, Roddick's words highlight a subtle shift in how coaches train aspiring elites. Grass used to be an afterthought for many, especially those who emerged from clay-rich countries. The training systems in Spain, for instance, centered on red clay fundamentals, constructing points patiently, using heavy topspin to keep opponents pinned behind the baseline, and perfecting footwork for higher bounces. But these days, the professional circuit is globalized. Top juniors travel early and widely, honing their skills on multiple surfaces. Alcaraz's apprenticeship under these conditions ensured a well-rounded base from a remarkably young age, allowing him to adjust more fluidly than players from previous generations. On the eve of major tournaments, you can spot Alcaraz drilling footwork patterns specific to grass, focusing on the short skipping steps so reminiscent of Federer. Coaches watch him carefully, guiding him to modify his follow-through or slice technique. The interesting part is how swiftly he incorporates these new elements. He does not look awkward doing so. Instead, day by day, he refines the approach until it appears almost second nature. That is a hallmark of a champion. The capacity to adopt new strategies and fold them seamlessly into an existing style. If you are as captivated by Alcaraz's story and Roddick's provocative comparison as we are, do not forget to subscribe for more updates. That way, you will not miss any of our future deep dives into the tennis world's most captivating narratives. Still, the upcoming test of Wimbledon, widely regarded as one of the most prestigious tournaments in the sport, stands as the next major checkpoint in Alcaraz's journey. Are we about to see him elevate his Wimbledon record further by defending his title and proving the Federer analogy accurate? Or will unforeseen challenges arise from veterans like Novak Djokovic, who remains a slippery foe on grass, or from surging rivals like Daniil Medvedev or Jannik Sinner, all seeking their share of the spotlight? We cannot talk about Alcaraz's Wimbledon outlook without revisiting that round of 16 match from last season. Then, Sinner delivered a masterclass in baseline hitting, neutralizing Alcaraz's power. It gave fans a glimpse of Alcaraz's potential weaknesses on grass and raised doubts about how quickly he could refine his movements for the low bounce. But fast forward to the present, and we see a more adaptable, more confident Alcaraz. He has tasted Grand Slam glory multiple times, and each taste only amplifies his hunger for more success. While some might argue that it is too soon to proclaim him a future 8-time winner on grass or a definitive heir to Federer's throne at Wimbledon, the excitement around Carlos Alcaraz represents something tennis truly craves. After years of the Big Three era, fans yearn for the next champion who can bring fresh style and fresh rivalries, capturing hearts along the way. Alcaraz's combination of exuberance, sportsmanship, and unstoppable ground strokes might just be the recipe to fill that role. And if what Roddick sees in his angles and approach is indeed a reflection of Federer, we can only imagine the mesmerizing battles that lie ahead. For critics who remain skeptical, let us not forget that even Federer himself faced a rocky path in his early career, plagued by inconsistent results and questions about mental toughness. The eventual Federer that Roddick battled time and time again was the polished diamond, the product of learning from defeats and harnessing raw talent into refined artistry. Alcaraz, though younger than when Federer began his Wimbledon onslaught, seems determined to expedite that development curve. Each month, he debuts a new facet of his game, confounding opponents who might have studied old tapes expecting the same old tactics. People often wonder if Nadal's immense success on grass, including multiple Wimbledon titles, might overshadow the differences in approach between him and Alcaraz. But Roddick's argument is that Nadal's approach demanded a bigger shift in footwork and timing when moving from clay to grass, possibly a more mechanical and resource-intensive process. Alcaraz, in contrast, shows such a natural synergy with the grass. Like Federer, he does not appear forced or out of his element. He is not simply flattening out his shots out of desperation. Instead, he wields a calculated blend of spun and aggression, stepping inside the court whenever a short ball arises, using the net not only for finishing points, but also as a tactic to keep opponents guessing. That style is deeply reminiscent of how Federer used to methodically dismantle players. Also, do not underestimate how the sport's constant evolution influences these narratives. Tennis is not static. Racket technology, training methods, court preparations, everything changes. If a prodigy emerges perfectly attuned to modern conditions, it could catapult him to achievements beyond our wildest projections. Alcaraz is stepping into an era where advanced analytics measure serve placement, spin rates, and footwork patterns to an exact science. The days of guesswork are gone. For a quick learner like him, that is an immense advantage. He can rely on data to refine his approach, and his coaches can apply cutting-edge techniques to ensure his transitions from clay to grass become even smoother. That synergy of talent, technology, and unstoppable passion might be what makes Andy Roddick's declaration ring so true. If there is a mind in tennis that grasps how punishing Federer's style can be to face, it is Roddick. Over one heartbreakingly close Wimbledon final after another, the American icon saw firsthand how Federer's swift footwork and perfect angles could absorb an opponent's best shots and still come out controlling the court. To see echoes of that brilliance in Alcaraz is to hint that the next chapter of tennis is upon us, and it might just revolve around the unstoppable surge of a young Spaniard who wants to dominate every surface. Imagine center court on a windy afternoon, the crowd buzzing with anticipation as Alcaraz steps out to face a cunning rival. You see him bounce the ball with calm confidence, perhaps reminiscent of Federer's composed presence. The match begins, and right away, Alcaraz uses that lethal forehand, shifting from side to side with effortless grace. A short slice from the opponent is quickly pounced upon as Alcaraz transitions forward, finishing the point with a crisp volley. Analysts scramble to find weaknesses, but if that baseline geometry is as precise as Roddick claims, then the door for major upsets narrows. Match by match, the hype could indeed surge to a level we have rarely witnessed in the last decade. That would be the ultimate vindication of Roddick's words, seeing Alcaraz channel Federer's brand of unstoppable movement, not as an imitation, but as an evolution. We are headed toward a deliciously unpredictable Wimbledon season. Alcaraz is a top favorite, yes, but he has plenty of foes with the tools to challenge him. Some fans crave the rise of new faces, others stand by the veterans. Yet the chatter about Alcaraz's parallels to Federer is unrelenting, and as Roddick's comments resonate throughout the tennis sphere, the pressure on the young Spaniard also intensifies. Will he buckle under that weight, or will he ride it like a wave, capturing Wimbledon after Wimbledon in a style that merges the best of two tennis titans, Rafa and Roger? In the grand scheme, narratives like these are part of what makes tennis so compelling. Personalities clash, styles mesh, rivalries spark, and before we know it, we witness history in the making. For now, one thing is certain. Alcaraz is not content with stalling at a single surface or a single style. He has proven his range by confronting arch-rivals on clay, dethroning favorites at other events, and lifted trophies on fast courts. The finishing piece of the puzzle may indeed be a consistent record on grass. If Alcaraz masters that synergy and truly becomes a second coming of Federer with a dash of Nadal's grit, tennis might be about to witness a phenomenon that could redefine entire eras. And that is a reason for fans to watch every single match with bated breath. Andy Roddick has lit the fuse on a conversation that extends beyond mere speculation. Federer's legacy casts a long shadow, yet here we have a fearless contender who might just chart a path of his own. Only time will tell whether Roddick's view becomes a prophecy fulfilled or a fleeting narrative. However, the excitement it has generated is contagious, fueling ticket sales, forum debates, and sports headlines. And if you have stuck with us this far, it means you too sense that spark of something special brewing. Keep your eyes on Wimbledon, watch closely how Alcaraz maneuvers around the court, and prepare yourself for a show that has all the makings of a generational shift. No matter what happens, the debates will rage. Is Alcaraz more Federer or Nadal? Is he forging an entirely unique style that requires a new comparison altogether? One thing is indisputable. His presence on grass is galvanizing a new wave of fans who cannot wait to see him elevate the most tradition-bound tournament in tennis. Success in these hallowed grounds is never guaranteed, but the possibility that Alcaraz might dominate in the mold of an all-time great should send a chill of excitement down the spine of any sports lover. This is no mere passing story. This is the evolution of the game right before our eyes. Stay tuned, keep your passion alive, and remember that the journey from wonder kid to legend is paved with moments like these. Bold statements from icons of the sport, stoking the fire in an up-and-comer who is ready to seize the crown. The stage is set, the rivalry is building, and the biggest question is whether Carlos Alcaraz will become the next unstoppable king of the grass courts. For fans of tennis, it does not get any more thrilling than that.